Baby, this first episode was like bow, pow, bam. And I was not ready, okay? But I'm locked in because I'm ready to see what more they have to offer. I've never been the type to watch soap operas, but it seems like a lot of shows are heading in that direction, or should I say a lot of black shows and scripts are going in that direction to get a spot in that midday at night soap opera TV market, which brings us here to King of Napa. So King of Napa is a series about a family that's fighting for money and control of a California winery. And it kind of reminds me of shows like Our Kind of People, Dynasty, sort of, kind of, in Succession a little, because of the family dynamic taking over the business and siblings fighting for who will be in control. So if you are a fan of shows like that, you will be intrigued with King of Napa. Now, if you would like it, I don't know, but to say the least, it will be entertaining. Let me also say this, because I have the tendency to find the positive in all black shows because the potential is always there. And we know that black shows don't get the same budget as these other shows because they never know if it will be a hit. So with that being said, moving forward, I will try not to be biased in my recap. So now that that's off my chest, the show is coming off a bit cheesy. Now don't get me wrong. I get the idea and the storylines are there, but the quality is like, ugh. Literally, in the first few minutes, we are introduced to a number of characters with no development. Just here is auntie, here is mama, here is sister, here is cousin, here is side piece. Like, whoa, whoa, whoa. It was just too much, especially when I'm over here trying to decide if I like the main characters or not. Speaking of main characters, we have Reginald King, who is the father, Vanessa King, who is the mother, August King, who is the sister, Christian King, who is the youngest brother, and Dana King, who is the oldest brother. And they are all the core of the King's family in the winery. But then we have Bridget Pierce, who is the cousin. So we thought. Melanie Pierce, her mother and also sister to Vanessa King. And Yvette King, who is the sister to the father, Reginald King. So as of now, those are the people that matter as far as the first episode goes. And when I say there is no time wasted with this show popping off, because Reggie, the father, ends up dying in like the first 15 to 20, not even like 5 minutes of the show. And it's so funny, but not really funny because like he died. But they definitely shed light of him having chest problems when the family was having their routine family dinner. And right after, the man drops dead. Now, I expected them to have him laid up in the hospital trying to recover, but still controlling the business in some way. But nope, Pops had to go. And when Pops left, that's when a whole lot of popped off. So because the family is wealthy and have the winery business, they have to get into the father's will as soon as possible so they can figure out how they will move the company forward and who will be in control since he is now gone. But the thing is, everyone in the family already had their roles and were in high positions. So there wasn't many changes that needed to happen except who would take over and replace the dad, right? So Dana was the CFO, meaning he was dealing with the finances and making sure that they had money to keep going and also finding more money for the company. Now, Dana came off as the one that just knew he was next in line because he worked with his father. He worked with the father the closest. He was the most educated out of the siblings. At least he thought he was because he went to an Ivy League school, whatever. And he was the oldest brother. So he knew the odds were on his side and in his favor. But baby, it wasn't because the dad kept him as CFO. Now, mind y'all, that is still a good position. That's like CEO, CFO. Very important. It just wasn't good enough for Dana. And on top of that, he felt shortchanged. No pun intended, because he's like a little person. But he felt shorted because the dad made August the president of the company, meaning she was going to be the one making all the big moves going forward. Now, before all this happened, August was head of marketing for the winery. And the thing is, she had a lot of good ideas. And rather if they had the funding or not, the dad will always indulge and entertain what ideas she is bringing to the table. And Dana used to be so mad, like, little boy, let it go. But regardless, the dad knew moving forward, she was the best choice because she would do all she could to keep the business going. And she going to think outside the box to better the company. And everyone in the family knew how cocky and self-centered Dana was. So if he was given the position, he probably would have tried to sell a company for some money. And on top of that, all the drama that started to unfold while the dad passed away, Dana wouldn't have been ready for it, and he would have folded under pressure. His behind already has short man syndrome, so he likes to come off cocky, but he ain't really about it. He ain't about that action at all. Okay. Now the younger brother, Christian, he was impressed with taking over because he was trying to build his own business in the bourbon market, and the mother was just mourning, so she wasn't impressed either. Hell, August wasn't even impressed either because she didn't think he was going to pass the company on to her, but she was willing to make it work, and she wanted to work with her siblings. But Dana, he'd be so mad, child. Now, what I will say is that the mom didn't want neither Dana nor August to be in control because she felt like Dana wasn't a good fit at all, point blank period. And August was too soft because of how nasty business people can be. And they be nasty. And they rich, wealthy, okay? So with all that being said, that whole spill was just business drama. Now, when it came to family drama, Lord knows I wasn't ready at all, okay? Oh, so I forgot to bring up earlier that Melanie, who was the sister of Vanessa and mother of Bridget, wasn't really around that much because she would travel because I think she was a doctor or something in that field. So she would go to like places like Africa and stuff and help out and so on. But when Reginald passed, she came back. And the whole time I thought sis was coming home to help her sister mourn and get through grief. No, that wasn't it at all. All she did was come home and add on to the grief. Well, no, I shouldn't say she added on to the grief because what she did was add on rage and more damn problems, okay? She should stay where she was at. But since you're here, sister. So when the sister came back, and I kid you not, she probably wasn't there for a second. I don't even think she greeted everyone. She just started letting the bullets fly. So when she arrived, she let it be known that Reggie borrowed $10 million from her, and she needed it back immediately. Now, everyone was so confused because, one, why she would even be, lending him money, and why wouldn't he go to a bank? Which is kind of like a valid question and a thought. Like, it's very valid. And then, two, why at this very moment, she is bringing it up now? Out of all this time you had to tell me, you want to tell me now? And, of course, she said it was because Reggie didn't want anyone to know. Probably. Which can be very well true, but that just didn't sit right with me, and it damn sure didn't sit right with Vanessa, who, by the way, didn't believe her and accused her of being a liar and always making things up to get something. But I didn't think Melanie was lying this time. I think she was dead serious, and the dad had secrets no one knew about. And he may have felt comfortable telling Melanie so he can get the money. But then again, I don't care how big or bad a secret is, you're supposed to tell your wife, not her damn sister, and the sister's supposed to let her sister know what her husband got going on. So that was real skeptical. Only for Melanie to bust out and say that she had slept with the daddy child and the daughter Bridget was his child. It all made sense, okay? It literally all made sense. But when I say I fell out, like, that was just too much. Like, bloop, bloop, bloop. They was just throwing it at us. Drama. Like, bloop, bloop. Okay. Now, listen, that was something she was supposed to take to the grave. But her sister really thought she was lying about the money, so she kept pressuring her on telling her the truth. And finally, she spilled it, which was her having sex with her husband. Just causing mess. And the emotions started running wild in the house at that point. But Bridget was very upset with her mother, like the most. But Bridget had been lied to her whole life about her father, which, I mean, it's understandable since Melanie had no business sleeping with her sister's whole husband. Ew. So this entire outburst that had caused a rift in the family was all because Melanie wanted the $10 million back. She loaned because she knew Reggie was keeping her in a good place when he was alive. But now that he is gone, she didn't have nothing to fall back on. Which, I mean, really doesn't make sense because if you have $10 million to loan, I would assume you're really out here making bank. Like, you're really getting to the bag. So maybe she was lying, maybe? But regardless, her getting the money back was protection for her and Bridget to move forward. But Bridget didn't care for the money. All she knew was her mama was a liar and that the Kings were her family. Point blank, that's all she knew. That's all she cared about in moving forward. But baby, Bridget was a fool if you ask me. She was being too naive. Now, granted, she had every right to be mad at her mother, but she was a fool to think that the Kings was down for her thick and thin. Now, I understand that her and August were already close as cousins, so it was going to be easy for them to mix as sisters. But when it comes to that business, that's something totally different, and the mama showed that very quickly, okay? So another thing I need to mention is that Bridget basically lived with the Kings and grew up with them when she was a child too. So of course she became a part of the family business, and she worked on growing the grapes and managing the soil. So basically the way they got their wine produced had to do with her. So her position was big and she loved the job. But once Vanessa found out that she was a secret baby, she did not want her around anymore. And I personally think that was wrong, because Bridget didn't have anything to do with what had happened. At the end of the day, she was a child in a crossfire. All that pressure should have been towards the sister only. But Vanessa was scorned, and she had every right to be. But poor Bridget had to feel the flames of Vanessa, feel all the flames that Vanessa was letting out, because she was the closest to the family. The mama wasn't. The mama technically didn't care, and it didn't matter to her. Like, she wanted her money. Bridget wanted her job, and she wanted to be with her family. Okay. Even after hearing the news, Vanessa was the only one mad. August, Dana, and Christian weren't pressed. At least Dana and Christian really didn't care. And August, like I said, was already close with Bridget, as if they were already sisters. It's just now they know they really are sisters. So that didn't change things. But once Vanessa X'd out Bridget of the family business, that's when she had no choice but to go over with her mama and fight them back, because she didn't have nothing. No job, no income, nothing. Which is also why her mama wanted that money back. Now, because all this has unfolded, the Kings and the Pierce family are about to go to war with each other, okay? But of course, August wants to settle. Hell, at first, so did Vanessa. But August has the right to, as the president, and she wants to just end things anyways, because she got other problems to worry about. But when it was time to do so with the lawyer, August gave out a number to settle with, which was like $5 million. So $10 million to $5 million. And Melanie was fine with it. But she also wanted Bridget to get her job back at the winery. And that's when all hell broke loose again. And Vanessa said hell no. And she would rather go to court and make sure they don't get anything. And I am all for the sister not getting anything and making her suffer. But once again, Bridget is the one getting hurt from Vanessa's choices. And she is a bystander. But it is what it is. Like, your mama messed it up, baby. I'm sorry. Like, I took care of you when you was a child, but you was clearly my stepdaughter. And I ain't asked for that. So, get it. But then, Bridget, hey. Now, what I will say is, I think they is going to have problems with the business, because, like August was saying in the show, Bridget knew the grapes. She knew the soil. She the one who basically made things run. So, I don't know. So another twist within the episode is the lawyer that is representing Melanie and Bridget is August's ex-boyfriend from high school, who, by the way, had been texting her and communicating with her about the passing of her dad. Yet said nothing about the lawsuit. And granted, he probably couldn't have. But boy, take your fake behind. Don't text me acting concerned knowing you're about to cause hell on my family and business. Boy, bye. Off rip, I didn't like him. It was just something about him that just came off real sneaky. And he kept lying to her. Like, it was crazy. And he was being very sly about it. Like, slick and sly about it. But, I mean, he is a lawyer, so that says a lot, you know. I really think there is going to be some drama and altercations with August and him, because he is married. But I think they both still have a thing for each other. But baby, I don't want to have no type of attraction to no man that is trying to take down my family and our business, especially now that I run it. And that's what the auntie Yvette told August. Her exact words were, bad bitches don't look back. All I know is that this is going to be a hot mess, and I can't wait for it all to unfold. But like I said earlier, the show isn't the best, but the potential is definitely there. And I'm going to stick with it, because this was only the pilot. So I'm assuming they had to put out enough that will have people coming back and sticking around with the show, which I will. But I hope you all enjoyed my review, and you already know what it is and how it goes down over here. Like this video below. Comment your thoughts on this show. And last but certainly not least, subscribe and join the Queen, baby.